What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of Off the Top Podcast. Thanks for tuning in. This is Jordan.
What up? It's Julian.
So today we want to talk about something that you guys probably do all the time, and you're doing it right now by chance. And no, it's nothing inappropriate. You're just streaming.
Yeah. I mean, you're streaming this podcast. You might be streaming some video content. You might be streaming some news. There's all these different avenues that you're going on, and it's interesting to see the jump of streaming, since I would say probably 2013 or 2014, it's been on an upward trend. And it's become one of the main things in, today's society.
Yeah. And any time that you have something like streaming or technology that is disruptive in a way, you kind of see this market shock to the environment like you've seen with, before streaming, cable and like TV was very, very popular as far as, getting a Cox or a charter membership for your TV subscription. Julian's being inappropriate right now, but, and then afterwards, when you have Netflix, there's a huge divergence of people who, decide to go different ways, and you can see that in the environment.
Yeah, and I think if you take it back to when I think of when streaming really took over is we all had this little place called Blockbuster, and you could go there and get your games, or you'd have like a little after that you had like GameFly, or maybe during the same time, and you go get these physical copies of DVD or of movies or games, TV show seasons, and that was what you did, and got some overpriced candy on your way to the register. And then as time went on, we saw like kind of Redbox come in, and they kind of pushed Blockbuster out a little bit and those, video places. And then Netflix started to hit real heavy after they moved from I still think they do DVD by mail. My grandma had that originally, which I thought was pretty cool. And then they really went heavy into streaming, kind of being the first in the market. And they've kind of pushed, they definitely pushed Blockbuster out for the most part. And Redbox isn't the same as it used to be.
Yeah, and I would even say before then, streaming was becoming a thing as far as music goes as well. I mean, you have companies like, I'm not sure if Napster solely streamed, but before it was taken out, you have companies like that or websites like that where you can find whatever music you're pretty much looking for. And now they're replaced with, Apple Music where you stream, or Spotify and SoundCloud where you're basically taking, listening to things that you don't hold on your iPod, back in the day, or your computer.
Yeah. And I think too, in that same note, you have the YouTube was one of those places you could go for a certain time as it grew, and you could, find the music you wanted as soon as people started figuring out how to upload it there, and you could listen to it whenever you wanted, or, Google search or YouTube search it. YouTube's come a long ways in that, streaming category. There's a lot of content on YouTube, pretty much for whatever you want. I watch YouTube at least a video a day, if not like 2 or 3. Whenever I want, on whatever content I'm enjoying at the moment.
Yeah. So I'm curious, Julian, what is your favorite type of streaming service?
I really enjoy Twitch, the game live streaming service, just because I think in that live genre of streaming, you can relate to, who's streaming or what's going on. So like if it's news and it's live, you actually get a sense of what's happening in real time as a republished, edited, broadcast or production. And I think if you Twitch, some of these guys doing games, you see that, some of them have millions of followers, but, you just get to interact with them and talk about current events, or people in the chat talk about current events, and you have this relation rather than watching. The thing about YouTube is you don't really get this interaction. Someone makes a really good piece of content and you watch it, and then you don't have the kind of same interaction as you would in a real life experience with that person.
Yeah, so Twitch is an awesome one, especially because of that interaction that people can have with the followers and listeners, and basically people that are tuned in, their audience. For me, it's kind of similar. It's Wow. Excuse me. For me, I find it extraordinarily interesting, and it's not really one that I use at all, but I find it so interesting that it's one of my favorites is, you have like NVIDIA or, an AMD, basically, graphics cards making companies that will stream computing power to you, which I find is extraordinarily interesting and really, really cool.
I don't know. So can you explain that process, or do you have like how that works? I haven't heard of that one before.
Yeah. So basically, so you can play a game on, let's say, something that's underpowered for the game. And what will happen is you'll send the signal out of like, exactly what's going on, and it'll go to basically this server warehouse, like everything, and it'll do the computing for you and then send back what should be happening. And it happens like pretty instantaneously. And I just find it so innovative, and maybe it won't gain traction right now, and especially in gaming, but I feel like it's one of those things where, remote computing power, and I mean, technically maybe somebody can make the argument that it's not streaming, but I believe that it's super exciting and really innovative.
Yeah. And I think that makes me think about something too, is the fact, like, I think with the growth of streaming, obviously I don't know a whole lot about server farms or like what their output is or their emissions, but I would feel like streaming now is a little bit more global friendly than like the old school purchasing CDs or VHS or things along that line. Because I guess the way I think about it is, if I purchase a CD and like after a while I don't want it anymore or whatever, or I throw it away, like it just goes into a landfill or something along those lines with the hard plastic cases, as opposed to streaming. Like if I don't like it, I can just see you later. All those unsold albums or whatever, they have to go somewhere.
Yeah. That reminds me, so this is a random fun fact, but I think it was the first album to only be in the streaming medium that made it big was Chance the Rapper's Coloring Book. And I find that very interesting that nowadays, like, people are more, like you said, they're not interested in having this physical medium of a CD or a cassette or even vinyl. So it's becoming this thing of, I think, first off, that it's a time thing as well. A CD doesn't materialize in your hand. You have to go to a store, buy it, come back home. But as far as streaming, I mean, you could do it as quick as 5 minutes or a minute, literally, of whatever you wanted to stream.
I don't think Best Buy carries CDs anymore. I think there's very few places that actually carry like CDs anymore. Like we're in our area, we have like a super old school store. It's called Sam Goody, and which carries like CDs and stuff, but like you don't see those very often. And if Best Buy doesn't really carry them, I don't know if maybe Walmart carries a couple, but like I don't even know where I'd really go to get, the newest CD from so and so when it comes out.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I know one place where you can see these, but sorry, I couldn't resist.
So one thing about streaming is the industry is obviously growing, and per year by consumers, there's about $10 billion spent on streaming subscription and services. And I think it's interesting because I don't really think about the incremental cost of streaming, but like, I have Spotify Student, and that's like $7 a month or something like that. And then you have like Netflix, which can be anywhere from like, 9 or 10 to like $20, depending on the package you get. Or you could get like YouTube Red or Hulu or Amazon and all these different things. And like, I mean, the subscriptions are super incremental, but like, I think if you add them all up, it can be a little bit pricey per household.
Yeah, that's definitely I feel like it's the case, but then I feel like Netflix is so synonymous with multiple people. Like, I mean, it's so like a quintessential thing that, more than one person uses a Netflix account, more than one person uses a Spotify account or a YouTube Red account or a Google, like a Apple Music account. So I think that it also helps with, like creating maybe a little bit of a culture around you of, like let's say that you share your Netflix account with your girlfriend, or, you share your Spotify with your girlfriend or your family, and you guys, I feel like that almost invites a social amount of interaction as in like, oh my gosh, that was actually really cool what you were like watching or listening to the other day, like something like that.
Yeah, probably could get you in trouble a few times here and there too if you're not old enough to watch a rated R movie and it shows up on the family feed or something.
Sounds like from personal experience. I'll let you run with that.
And then, I mean, you also look at some of these streaming services. I guess we'll talk about Netflix and Amazon and the amount of money that they pump into their services. Like Amazon is acquiring Lord of the Rings, if you're a Lord of the Rings fan, for somewhere like $250 million per season or something like that. So it's going to be close to $1 billion series. And I mean, that's a ton of money to, I don't think TV shows really go for that. I'm not too sure, but $250 million seems like quite a bit. But I mean, Amazon doing what they do are probably pretty confident in that purchase, and it's probably going to be really profitable as a, TV series.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I feel like there's a lot of case studies that have happened where they can have some good faith in what they're doing. Being a Lord of the Rings fan, I mean, I think they might have even bought that at a steal as far as the actual potential that they can generate from that. If you look at, for instance, I don't watch this, but I know a lot of people do. Game of Thrones, that's one that has had amazing success and popularity through something that was adopted pretty much not on TV in an HBO service.
Yeah, I guess that's another thing you have to think about too, is like HBO and Showtime and some of those more premium cable spots. I think we're like this is going to be a hot take or stretch, but I would think of those as an early on almost type of streaming service. Like not everyone had access to it. You had to pay an extra amount per month on your cable bill to access that content. So they're giving you exclusive content basically that wasn't on any other channels. And yeah, you've seen them progress into these, big time shows like Game of Thrones. I don't know if Westworld is. I don't know.
I think that might be
somewhere in that genre where they're streaming those two now, and it's just like becoming this huge thing where exclusive content or, the ability to access that content is the thing now.
Mm-hmm. And I would even give it to you just because of HBO Go now. I mean, back then there wasn't such thing, but HBO Go is basically HBO's streaming service that you can access on your phone.
Yeah. And then as we move over to Netflix, you see that I just read an article before this that they're pumping in $8 billion for like original content. And during this year, 2018, they are putting out 700 pieces of original content. So that's 2 pieces of original content a day just about, which is insane. So to see that, the amount of focus or the acquisition of other studios or other concepts by these, big name streaming services is, I think, a sign that streaming is going to be here for a good amount of time. I don't know if we'll ever, something different will come in. I don't know what that could be, but it's definitely something that's going to be sticking around.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I'm actually excited to see where it goes, because right now I feel like it's in this growing phase, and it has been for a while, and now we're seeing kind of a different type of growth. At first it was just explosive, like holy hell, everyone's talking about Netflix and Hulu and Spotify, which just had their IPO, which was very successful. And now it's to this point of their growth where they can kind of, after they're cemented themselves, we can see how creative they can get as far as pushing the envelope and seeing where streaming can take everyone.
Yeah. And I think we'll see these bidding wars like what went on with, Lord of the Rings. Obviously, Netflix pitched for that as well and just didn't win the bid. And you'll see a lot of these pieces of content that we know from our past that are huge, like maybe something around, Harry Potter, or, Lord of the Rings was probably going to be my example if it wasn't one, but all these big blockbusters kind of being, trying to be acquired and getting there, you know, the creators getting paid. And as we talk about creators getting paid, I know there's been some trouble between Spotify and their artists for like, you know, what you get paid per stream, because some of these artists release a song like Drake or something and get, you know, 2 million streams in 2 days or something like that, as opposed, like, I mean, that's going platinum. As you know, old music style or on a CD, it took a while to go platinum, you know, let alone for a song. So there's been this, you know, interesting discussion on what people should be getting paid.
Yeah, and I don't think that should diverge very much from the actual from back then. And granted, it even should be more in favor of maybe the creators because there's a lot lower overhead. I mean, you don't have to buy the CDs, you don't have to buy the cases, you don't have to ship them anywhere. So now you find this kind of a lot better profit margin that I don't think should go. Granted, I mean, things like Spotify, they do a great service, and without them, where would we go? Tidal?
Yeah. I think it's something along the lines too of, I know I don't really enjoy this person, but I know Taylor Swift's talked about a long time, because for a while YouTube was paying like 0.00002 cents per view on a video. But like, you know, the artist is getting paid that 0.00 whatever 2% or 2 cents, and the advertisers on that are, you know, getting hundreds of millions of views on her video for, you know, a crazy amount of money that she isn't seeing. And I think the same goes for Spotify, where they get like somewhere around the same, like 0.0, then like 3 more zeros, like 3 cents a stream. So it's really for them. I've seen some artists just talk about going to certain platforms, like Tidal actually pays one of the best for artists, even though but their subscription is where they get that from, because their subscription's like $20 a month.
Yeah. And I think that there's going to be kind of a pushback, and it's almost, this probably isn't very related, but it almost reminds me of the college athlete in college type of scenario, where you have these performers or, you know, entrepreneurs basically that go out and provide this service that generates a lot of money. And at the end of the day, the majority of that money goes to the people that didn't even create the service. And it's going to that sounds like a little Marxist when I paint it that picture, in the fact that these people should be getting paid for what they're creating themselves and have that actual relationship of what they're bringing into the world. And so I think that needs to be addressed in some sort of fashion.
Yeah, I didn't even really think about this, but we're not on Spotify yet. One day it'll get on there. Their process is really weird, and I don't believe in it, but it'd be weird, I guess, if we're on the same side, if, say, one of our podcasts, you know, hit 2 million streams in a matter of 3 weeks, just because the Archaeologist Foundation really enjoyed what we were putting down. And, you know, we got this royalty check or whatever, and it was like, you know, $80 or something like that. Or, I mean, I don't know if that would be the number, but it'd be very interesting, like an interesting feeling if you relate it to a personal experience, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. And there's an absolute divergence from that in the fact of, like, and maybe that's a hypothetical. Yeah. So who knows? But like you painted the picture, there's a real divergence between what somebody creates and what that impact is compared to what they get out of that.
Yeah. So what do you think about this concept? Another hot take. We're talking about the evolution of streaming, and what you said earlier made me think about it, like where it's going. Do you think we'll ever see one, like almost like a Shakespeare play, but like a live movie? So think of whatever movie, you know, we'll use Black Panther. That's a big movie in theater, right? 100% first take stream, like no,
like almost like a Twitch.
Oh yeah, almost
movies.
almost like a Shakespeare play, basically, like a live play streamed type thing. Like, is that the evolution where people can, you know, they can adjust what they're doing based on, I don't know if that would happen, but Something along those lines.
I think that you're trying to recreate the wheel and the fact that you can just go to a real play.
Yeah.
And I mean, physically, I don't think it's called streaming. You're just watching it. But I think that won't happen just because there is a large error, or not error, but a large presence of randomness when it comes to that. And, being on the fly and stuff where it takes away from the actual act of creating, the movie, the message, the story. So, but maybe I'm wrong.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm just thinking because plays, like you said, you can go to a Shakespeare play. I guess some people are fortunate to have one in their area, but I guess a lot of those plays are still the traditional, Romeo and Juliet's or something along the lines. You don't see a whole lot of, maybe on Broadway or in Chicago, you'll see some more modern plays, but you don't see a whole lot of cutting edge or new type stuff, I guess, or what's trending. So it'd just be interesting to see if, we ever saw that. I don't know. It's a lot of work, especially with the amount of CGI and post edits and all the stuff that goes on in videos or TV shows. Yeah.
Yeah, very much so. Another thing too is that kind of reminded me of that is VR. So now with the presence of VR, you can almost stream into live events. So you can put on your Oculus Rift or whatever you have, HTC Vive, and be courtside at a Lakers game or a Bulls game or whatever hockey game. It doesn't matter. And I think that it's almost like streaming an actual live experience, which I find just what the hell?
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're listening and you don't know what VR, it just stands for virtual reality. And you get this headset that goes over your eyes, and it has a screen in there, and it, like Jordan said, you could live stream, an event such as the Lakers game into the headset. And as you move your head to the left, the camera moves to the left. As you look down, it looks down. So it all responds to your movements of your head with its motion sensor. Some people go as far as to, adding headphones or something to get that audio experience directly instead of from the TV. It'll be interesting if they ever added sense, or not sense, but smell somehow, what that would be like. Or
so I think that is something that could go powerfully wrong, but also be amazing in the fact that a lot of our whoa, coming back. Take the reins, Julian. Figure this out.
And it's also interesting too, because I think VR is one of those things you could get. I think some companies like Facebook are doing it where you go VR and someone else's VR, and you both are having the same experience. So I look to my right and Jordan looks to his left, and we could be in two different countries and both be there with, maybe we have characters or something like that, and you could conversate between that way, like you're at a live event, but you're really just chilling in the basement of your mom's house or something.
Yeah. I think that VR will definitely play a role in streaming in the future.
Yeah. And I think too, if you move on to the other side, augmented reality, which is basically, say you put up your phone and you're looking at a tree or something, and your phone analyzes it and says, okay, this is what it is, and does a few pop-ups on your screen, or gives you some extra information just from analyzing, what it is another, thing of, I guess, streaming. It's giving you content. So if you're looking in downtown Tokyo and you don't know what anything says, and you put your phone up and it reads all the signs for you and gives you reviews, that's live content coming to you as your phone does that.
Yeah. And I truly believe that AR, opposed to VR, is going to be more of a didactic tool than it is an entertainment thing. Just because, like you said, it would be such a valuable asset to decipher a foreign language, or even allow people to do their jobs better. Imagine a surgeon that had the impact of VR, or the help of VR or AR, to help with an incision line, or, delineate cancer cells from normal healthy tissue.
Yeah. I think the movement of where streaming or these realities are going is going to be huge as time goes on. I think the most common one people don't, take for granted or don't really think about as streaming, but like video conferencing is huge now. Like, 20 years ago, I bet you they wish they would have had, the capabilities or the fluidity of, Zoom or Skype of what we have today, where you can, talk to these people and, tell them that you have this cake, but you need, to frost it correctly or whatever it is, and interact with these people. Or even like the doorbells, that have live cameras so you can see who's coming to your door and like yell at them if they're not supposed to be there, is huge in the terms of like the safety realm. If you have, small children at home or you're worried about your neighborhood.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. I think I'm good. But yeah, and it almost makes me wonder how infrastructure is going to need to adapt, or if it's already ready for all of those things that are going to be encumbering it, or like, being cumbersome on it with streaming.
Yeah. And I think one of the last things is like, I think a lot of, at least Americans and maybe those in, profitable societies or of age societies, because there's a lot of countries that just don't have access to this stuff and have no idea what it does, and things are a lot simpler there. But like, I think we get mad a lot of the times that, obviously buffering or drop internet or whatever it is, and like we have this access to this free entertainment as people just have no clue, and they're doing what they do to get around. And I think a lot of the times it's more so it's evolved into like a necessity for some people, but where it should be more of a, I don't know what the word is, not a necessity, but I can't think of the word, but just something that you should have in the free time, where you're lucky to have the access. A luxury. A luxury.
Yeah, I definitely do believe it is. And the more that we complicate our lives with technology, the finer line a luxury and a necessity becomes. For instance, 20 years ago, something that could make calls and reach out to people wherever you are in the world, that sounds like an absolute luxury. But for some people, that becomes a necessity with time. So I think that we're going to definitely butt up against that hard question of when do things become luxuries, and culturally when they become necessities.
Yeah, I think that's a good point to leave on and let you guys think about. We hope you've learned something about streaming, or just think of it outside of the box, or more than just Netflix or Spotify, or something about how it's really evolving our generation and society and the capabilities of the technology that we have. Any last words?
I just want to thank you guys, and especially if this is your first episode, might as well head out right now. I got some other stuff to talk about with my real off the top peeps. Thank you guys so much for listening this far, and supporting me and Julian's archaeology careers, because we're going for that megalodon, and it's going to happen.
Thanks for listening.